We're at the Electric Ireland GAA Minor Star Awards, and I'm joined by Tyrone's Sean Cavanagh. And I suppose the first place I'm going. This is just the incident there a few weeks ago. How are you feeling now?
Recovering. I'm looking a bit better, but I guess it's still a few headaches from the concussion, and I'm seeing a consultant on Monday about my nose. Thankfully, it isn't too bad. It's broken quite high, so yeah, look, recovering on the mend, thankfully, and trying to move on.
Have you watched that video back yet?
I haven't seen the video. A couple of the club members did, and so yeah, look, it's there's been statements from both the county board and both the clubs respectively. So yeah, look, I've just had to go on their pieces, and it's like anything, everyone will have their own interpretation. But I suppose, like, if you're involved in a car crash, you wouldn't want to see it again, and certainly I've no burning ambition to see myself getting injured. So
People would wonder, a footballer like yourself, like in your book and everything over the years, you've spoken about how obsessed you were. Surely this would feed into it, that it'd be just that niggling thing, just even want to see it, to know you didn't want to see it.
not really. I'm probably I've never watched back any games. I've never sat down and watched any game I've ever played in. So this will be no different. And certainly the bad games, you had no ambition to watch them back. So no, it's one of those things. I've been quite good at just moving on, and even through some bad defeats, as bad as you take them, you can become very resilient, and learn to let things wash off the back of your back, and just head on into the next chapter, and that's what I've tried to do in the next few weeks and the last few weeks. And as much as people tell me to rest and take it easy, you just plough in the next day, and you try and engage yourself in a different way. And
It's only a few short weeks since we were here for the All-Ireland final, and obviously Tyrone were in the zone as much as Dublin were, but they just weren't able to beat Dublin. I don't think anybody was surprised by that result. But in the post-mortem of it, looking back over that game, and like, was there any points when you were watching it when you thought, if Mickey had done things differently, or if the Tyrone team had done things differently, would any other result have been possible, or is it as simple that Dublin were just better?
okay, look, within any game, I think, and particularly any game that you lose, you'd always look at things that could have been done differently. And I'm sure Mickey and the management team will have been no different in the past few weeks. So you always wonder whether, I always thought that Dublin had to be spooked by something quite extreme, and brother Colin went in the last 10 minutes and won a penalty and caused a bit of havoc. And I remember writing a column a week before that, and saying in that I would love to have seen Colin start inside, and maybe cause a bit of havoc, because if there was one perceived weakness, it might have been in Dublin full back line under high balls. So no, look, Mickey's been in the game a long time, and he decided on the tactics, and it probably was just that 10 minutes where Dublin got the foothold and hit 2-6 to a point before half time. And you would have looked back at, I remember playing Dublin in through the 2000s, and whenever they got a run on you, we always used to say we have to find a way to slow them down, or stifle them after they scored a couple of scores in a row, because the crowd gets behind them, and they're a phenomenal team at that point.
Do you ever have that worry in the back of your mind when you're writing an article like that and you're saying, maybe move the brother inside a bit, that because Mickey doesn't miss much. I know Mickey Hart will say, I pay no attention to these things, but guaranteed he's heard it. Do you ever worry that that's going to come back and bite Colin in the dressing room?
Okay, yeah, look, it's strange this year, because I've obviously made a few comments about Tyrone, and that's what
Just a few.
That's what I'm there to do. But yeah, look, Mickey obviously reads and analyses everything, but at the same time, he's very much his own person, and you know that he's not going to be influenced, and he never has been influenced by what's been said in the media, and rightly so. Managers and players shouldn't need to be motivated by what's said, whether it's positive or negative, in the media. So
Let me rephrase then. Does Colin ever come home banging the gear bag on the table saying, why did you say that? You've caused me X, Y, Z now. Could you not just keep your mouth shut?
he just ignores me. That's I live 6 meters from him. I meet him out the front of the house with the kids most evenings, and through such a good summer we had, I was out most evenings. But we had a mutual understanding that we just didn't talk about football, and I didn't ask him what was going on in the Tyrone panel, and he didn't abuse me too much for what I was saying in a Sunday game panel room. So, no, look, it's just the way it's going to be. It's been a strange year that way, and that for 16 years I've been travelling up and down the road to Tyrone training, and I'm watching him this year get his gear bag and head to train at 6 o'clock in the evening, and sitting with an 8 month-year-old child in my arms with him maybe a dirty nappy. So it's a strange feeling, but. Yeah, look, I've certainly was satisfied with what I did in the game, and it is the right time to move on.
Finally, I know we need to wrap up. Just one more thing. It's just we've just seen the club games now up in Ulster over the last few months. Not just the game that you were involved in and everything that had happened in that. That there seems to be a level of, and I know you mentioned before about a win at all costs mentality nearly going on. And I don't want to be tarring the whole problems with the same brush. It's not fair. It's just they're the ones that have come to the fore on social media. What do you think is the solution to all of this? That, we all know a bit of cut and trust in a game is one thing, but when it goes beyond the line of what's physically permitted or possible or allowed, what should be done? What can be done? Is anything going to be done?
Okay, well, it really comes back to the officials, and it comes back to if the referees, linesmen, umpires are capable of officiating a game properly. Quite often games won't boil over and won't get to a stage where we've seen some ugly scenes. And look, everyone wants passion, and whenever I play, I bring as much passion as anyone does. The only thing you don't want is dangerous tackles. You don't want people hitting from behind, from the side. You don't want anything that's going to discourage maybe parents to send their kids to Gaelic over a soccer or a rugby whenever they're choosing sports. So I think if county boards and officials and the GAA make the right decisions, and if we can increase the technical ability of referees and their ability to interpret what's dangerous and what's part of the cut and thrust in the game, I think we can definitely improve our games or product. I always was a huge advocate whenever I played international rules. There was a second referee in the pitch, and there was always the off the ball stuff, the ugly stuff was always watched, and you knew as a player you're being watched, because quite often, and even at club level, the stuff that goes on, it goes on when the referee's back is turned, and maybe there's neutral, or there isn't neutral linesmen or umpires, and players will push the boundaries whenever they have the opportunity to do that. So I'm not sure whether we have enough to get a second referee on a pitch, but maybe at county level, maybe it's a start.